What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast. I'm Brandon Jadich. I am your host. As always, we got another special transfer portal edition for you today. I came out with my own rankings. I finally did it. I came out with the top 20 transfer commits, top 20 team performances so far in the portal, and then the top 10 available. I just did all of this, so it is new. Timestamping this about 11 o'clock on Monday on the East Coast here. So that's going to be what the layout of the show is going to be. We're going to talk about some in-depth stats of some of the players, some of the teams even, why I think some of these teams, the pickups they got in the portal fit. Obviously, the teams like Arkansas, Kentucky, Washington, Michigan, they all had to fill a lineup. And yes, we're going to talk about them. But some of the teams just picked up pieces that I think, man, that fits really well. So we're going to talk about some of those. And then of course, we're going to talk about just some of the top players, top teams, top available. But the poll question, we have a poll question today. We haven't done a poll question in a while. The poll question is, would you guys be interested in a best bet show? It's on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, it's great. We're going to show some great graphics today. So just comment below whether you'd be interested in a best bet show. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can actually vote because I know how to create a poll on there. I'm not able to create a poll on YouTube. So do that. Check it out. Let us know. Best bets. It wouldn't obviously start until probably November. It'd probably be a daily thing. I'd wake up early every morning, check out some of the lines, find some of the best lines, and just post on there. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Maybe even do one here in a couple months with some best future bets or something like that. I know everyone loves to talk future bets. So let me know. Let me know if you're interested in that. Also, let me know if anyone, we mentioned it in the last podcast, if anyone is a skilled advertiser. We now have an advertising spot available. We're looking to continue to grow. We've been getting tons of views. Appreciate every single one of you guys. It's been great. We're really looking forward to college basketball. It's right around the corner. Things are happening. Things are interesting. We're starting to get a feel of what the lineups might look like. So let's go down the list. Remember, today's show, notable movements. As always, we'll always start the show with that. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long at all. Top 20 transfer commits according to me, according to Bracket Science. Top 20 team performances, top 10 available. That's going to be the outline today. All right, let's start with some of the notable movements in the transfer portal over the last week. Starting with Dillon Mitchell transferring from Texas to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to be a fun team to watch. Dillon Mitchell, very athletic, had a lot of hype coming into college, really just is an absolute awful shooter. That's the only way I can put it. Cannot shoot. If he can develop a shot, he will be a stud and will most likely he'll get drafted at some point. He's that type of talent. Riley Kugel, remember he was supposed to go to Kansas. He is not anymore. He's now going from Florida to Chris Jans and Mississippi State. Big commit for Mississippi State. Mississippi State putting together a pretty solid lineup this year. A.J. Hoggard going from Michigan State to Vanderbilt. Shocking one here. Didn't expect that. Going from Michigan State to Vanderbilt. Not something that a Michigan State starter typically does, but A.J. Hoggard in this case committing to Mark Byington, the new coach at Vanderbilt. They put together a nice little team. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. My favorite commit that has happened so far in the past week, Trezarian White. Have you not heard of him? It's because he's from UNC Wilmington. He's going to TCU. Trezarian White torched Kentucky when they beat Kentucky last year. He's one of those who shows up in the big games. He's tremendous. He can score the ball. I think he's going to lead TCU in scoring in scoring next year. I think he's going to take over kind of that Mike Miles role that we saw a couple years ago. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm really excited to see what Trezarian White can do. Day-Day Ames going from Kansas State to Virginia. Tony Bennett doing a terrific job over the past couple weeks in the transfer portal. Okoro, remember him from Samford? He had a great game against Kansas. He was part of that buckyball system. Their best player last year. He is going from Samford to Kansas State. Sion James going from Tulane to Duke. And Kiba Kita going from Utah to BYU. Utah's big guy. Nice pickup for BYU there. That's all the transfers we're really going to talk about, some of the big names. A few other notes. I hear it's basically a necessity if you run a college basketball podcast that you just have to mention Bronny James' name. I think he's going to stay. He's basically 100% going to stay in the NBA draft. I don't blame him. I've heard a lot of bad takes of people coming out and saying, he's not developed enough. He needs to come back to college. You think he's not going to get training in the NBA? I mean, he's Bronny James. He's getting the best training anyways. if he has the opportunity, how many years does LeBron have left? He has the opportunity to play with his dad. I can't blame him for it. I think it's going to be good. In terms of a prospect, no, I don't think he's the greatest prospect. I think he's fast, good defender, only 6'1", labeled in the draft. But if I was in his place, I'd do the same thing. I have no bad words for him. I hope everything works out for Bronny James. And then finally, Doug Gottlieb. I'm sure everyone's heard about that. The on-air host of his own show from 3 to 5 on Fox Sports, hired as the head coach at Green Bay. This is great news, especially for me. If you own a basketball talk show, you're basically considered as a Division I head coach, even if you don't have any experience like Doug Gottlieb. Now, he has coached overseas. I'll give him that credit, but never has coached in the college game, not an assistant, not anything. He has a great mind. He's a little bit controversial. For those who watch his show, you know he's a little controversial, but hey, gets Green Bay on the map. Do I think he's gonna? And he still wants to do his show, by the way. Still gonna do his show while coaching. I mean, it's a 3 to 5 show. You have games at 7 o'clock. What? It's gonna be interesting. Kind of just seems like a publicity thing for Green Bay, get him on the map, and hey, it worked. Everyone's talking about it. So Doug Gottlieb going to Green Bay. All right, that's all the notable movements. Now we're going to get into some of the rankings. We're going to start with the top 20 transfer commits. According to me, right now, my favorite commit right now, John L. Davis, going from FAU to John Calipari and Arkansas. He was supposed to go to Michigan, but couldn't get into Michigan. Michigan's got to change some things there to make sure that happens. John L. Davis, an absolute pure shooter. If you remember him from their Final Four team, he made a huge leap from even that year at the Final Four to last year. He is terrific. Averaged 18.2 points per game last year, 41.5% from three, 48% from the field, 86% from the free throw line. Also, we remember Dusty May had terrific rebounders for guards. He averaged 6.3 rebounds per game. I mean, he's not that big. He is only 6'4", but I mean, he can handle the ball. He's terrific. 2.9 assists, which was a big jump last year from 1.6 the year before. Also a good defender, 1.4 steals. Does get in foul trouble a little bit, as we saw a lot with FAU last year, but this is my favorite pickup, 18.2 points per game, and just one of those smooth, effortless shots. Very good. Good for John Calipari in Arkansas picking him up. I'm very excited about that one. My second favorite commit, Kadari Richmond from Seton Hall. I know he's number one on a lot of people's list, and I'm fine with that if he's on number one on your list. 6'6", 210 pounds. He's a point guard / shooting guard. We're going to talk about where his teammate is. He's going from Seton Hall to St. John's. Can't remember if I already mentioned that. But last year he averaged 15.7 points per game, 7 rebounds. He also averaged 5.1 assists. One of those guys, triple-double on the table every single game for Kadari Richmond. Really looking forward to him and his new teammate, which we'll talk about here. He's at the 9 spot, who we're going to talk about. So St. John's going to have a pretty fun team. Triple-double threat every single night. A lot of people's number one prospect. I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see him develop a little bit more of a shot. 27% from 3 last year. Not great. All right, moving on from Kadari Richmond to our number 3, Norchad Omier, transferring from Miami, going to Baylor. Now, he might not be number 3 if I didn't think this was such a perfect fit. He's going to fit into that Baylor system so well. Undersized for, he played center at Miami. He's only 6'7", but he is most definitely going to be their power forward this year. Might play the 5 in some instances. He has averaged over 10 rebounds. He's averaged a double-double in all 4 years of his college career. The last 4 years, he spent his first 2 at Arkansas State, then transferred to Miami, where he did not miss a beat. He was just as good at Miami as he was at Arkansas State. Last year, he averaged 17 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 1.5 steals per game. Good defender, 0.8 blocks, as we mentioned, not as big. He did develop a little bit of a shot last year, too. 2 years ago, if you remember him in their Final Four run, he couldn't shoot whatsoever. Last year, 35% from 3 on 2.2 attempts per game. Not so bad. He's athletic. He's fast. He doesn't move like a 6'7" guy. He moves quick, can jump, physical. Perfect fit for Baylor. Really looking forward to what Norchad Omier can do at Baylor this year. Next up, Great Osabar. Now, I'm not considering the NIL money because that was just an absolute ton. It's rumored that it's about $2 million to come play basketball from Utah State to Washington. Absolutely incredible. He was last year's Mountain West Player of the Year. I'm so glad they gave it to him over Jaden Ledee. I thought Great Osabar was the better player, and I'm glad they made the decision. I know Jaden Ledee's stats were a little better. I'm glad they gave it to Osabar, though. I thought he was the most important player. Last year, he averaged 17.7 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, shot 57.7% from the field. Remember, he transferred from Montana State to Utah State with Danny Sprinkle. Now he's doing the same thing from Utah State to Washington. Danny Sprinkle obviously loves Danny Sprinkle. 1.4 blocks per game, 1.3 steals per game last year. He's terrific. He is a great basketball player. Big, good footwork. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do. How did he get $2 million out of his former coach? He had to be leveraging, negotiating him a little bit. You think, I don't know, strange stuff. Good for Great Osabar. That's going to put some food on the table for a very long time in his life. Moving on, from Duke to Baylor. Yes, 2 guys going to Baylor in our top 5. I have Jeremy Roach. I know he's lower on some of the people's lists, but I think this is just a terrific addition because he's so veteran. He played for Duke all 4 years, handled the pressure of being the point guard at Duke. Now going to Baylor, where it's just a perfect system. I think it's a perfect fit. I think Scott Drew did a tremendous job getting Norchad Omier and Jeremy Roach. Jeremy Roach last year averaged 14 points per game, shot 43% from 3, 84% from the free throw line. Great shooter. His shooting was up last year from the year before. The year before, his scoring was down just a little bit, from 14 to 13.6. So he's consistent. He's a good scorer. Can pass, 3 assists plus in his past 3 years. He's veteran, good on-ball defender, 1.1 steals last year. This is a great pickup. He's one of those guys who just runs the offense, does what he's asked, great teammate. I'm looking forward to seeing Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier work together. At number 6, Oumar Ballo. Oumar Ballo is number 1 on a lot of people's lists that I have seen. I don't like it. I think I put him at 6 strictly because I might have fallen in the trap. I don't know if he should be number 6, but I had to put him somewhere. I've been an Oumar Ballo hater for a long time. I apologize to Oumar Ballo and Arizona fans. I just think he's a little bit overrated. Free throw, that's what it is. It's the free throw shooting. I think it's catching up to him. He was a bad free throw shooter his whole life, and this year it really showed. People were fouling him more. He was 49.5%. He's under 50% from the line. 12.9 points per game, 10.1 rebounds. Those are great stats. Great stats. I think he was 15th overall in rebounds in all of Division I basketball. It's just as soon as it hits March, people know how to guard him. They've figured out how to guard him. They know you can just foul him. You know he's not going to shoot at all, and he has just not shown up whatsoever the past 2 years for Arizona in March Madness. Doesn't show up in the times where they need him. I'm lower on him. He's a big body. He is a big body. At 7 foot, 260 pounds from Mali, only averages 1.3 blocks per game. You think if you're getting that big body down low, you need a little more than that. 1.3 is not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but I don't think he should be at the top of anyone's list. But going from Arizona to Indiana, still a good pickup for Indiana. I've mentioned it before, I'll say it again. I liked Khalil Ware last year at Indiana more than I like Oumar Ballo at Indiana this year. I obviously like Indiana's lineup more this year than last year, but I think it's a little bit of a downgrade going from Khalil Ware to Oumar Ballo. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I'm not sure. It's just disappointing to see him every March just kind of fall apart a little bit. Moving on. Going from Wisconsin to Kansas, AJ Storr. Another one of those I'm a little lower on than most people. Saw a tweet that went viral. Spike Albrecht, I think we talked about this already on here. Spike Albrecht, remember, guy, the Nick Stauskas Michigan team. Spike Albrecht was the point guard. Was rumored to be dating Kate Upton. Maybe that'll strike your memory for him. He came out with a tweet. He's like, just showing the list of all the schools AJ Storr's been to. I think he went to 3 high schools. Now this will be his 3rd college in 3 years. He's like, that's not a guy I wouldn't want, and kind of got a lot of hate on it, but he's got some points there because the way I see his game is kind of how I see that. Like, he's a tremendous athlete. Don't get me wrong. Probably the best lateral quickness jumper, just pure athleticism out of anyone on this list. I just don't like his play that much. I have him at 7 because of this athletic ability, and he can, if he learns his role at Kansas, he'll be perfect. He'll be a perfect fit. He's got to come in knowing Hunter Dickinson's going to be the guy. DeJuan Harris is going to have the ball in his hands every possession to set up his guys. AJ Storr is going to kind of step into the Kevin McCullough-ish role, except Kevin McCullough was in the system for a couple years. AJ Storr is coming from team to team, and that he needs the ball in his hand. He knows he's a guy who always had the ball in his hands at Wisconsin whenever they needed the shot. He's not going to be that guy this year. His stats are good, 16.8 points per game, almost 17 a game, pretty good. 3.9 rebounds, not bad. 0.6 steals for as quick as he is, only 0.1 blocks per game. It's not great. It's not great. I'm not sure. I see the potential. I really do. I get that's why people are putting him so high. I see the potential, but he takes a lot of bad shots too. He's only 32% from 3 last year on 4.2 attempts per game, 43.4% from the field. He's actually been that the last 2 years at St. John's, then Wisconsin. Okay, nothing spectacular. I think people are expecting him to fit into the role of just kind of that laid-back guy and just kind of that can get you a bucket, just fits in the system. Anyone can get a bucket on that loaded Kansas team. But I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see how he acts. That's why I'm hesitant to move him up above the 7 spot. But I got to keep him there just for that athletic ability because he is special. He can jump. He's quick. He makes some crazy shots, but he also takes some crazy shots. So we'll see about AJ Storr. Moving on, Clifford Omori transferring from Rutgers to Alabama. Terrific pickup. I love this. I think it's great for Nate Oates. I wanted to move him above Oumar Ballo, but I just, quite frankly, don't know if I could just comment all the things that would be commented if I put Clifford Omori above Oumar Ballo. But I can see you switching him out with just about anyone. I'm so in on Cliff Omori. If he wasn't at Rutgers, I truly believe he would be a top 4 transfer on everyone's list, but everyone's thinking, he was at Rutgers. No, he's terrific. 2.9 blocks per game last year. Special. That is incredible. Big guy, which Alabama desperately needed. 6'11", 240 pounds from Nigeria. 2.9 blocks. I'll say that number again because that is just ridiculous. He also averaged 10.4 points per game and 8.3 rebounds per game last year, which was actually down from the year before where he averaged 13.2 and 9.6, almost a double-double there. He's not a good free throw shooter, kind of like Oumar Ballo, kind of holding him back right now. Can't shoot the 3 at all. He averages about 60% or so from the free throw line in his 4 years at college, but a terrific defender. I promise you Alabama is going to have enough offensive firepower this year, especially if Mark Sears come back. So with Grant Nelson kind of as that guy who can score, correlating with Cliff Omori down low, this team is going to be special. Clifford Omori is going to be special. Really excited to see what he does next year. At number 9, Devin Smith from Utah to St. John's. That's the other guy who's going to coexist in the backcourt with Kadari Richmond. Devin Smith, if you didn't get to watch him last year, I feel sorry for you. He is spectacular. So fast, so quick. He is only 6 foot, 170 pounds, and he averaged 6.3 rebounds per game. Just one of those sneaky guys. If I had to come up off the top of my head who the fastest guy in college basketball is, just speed-wise, quickness-wise, I'd probably say Devin Smith from Utah last year, now going to St. John's. He averaged 13.3 points per game, 7.1 assists per game, 6.3 rebounds. Like I said, I got to mention again, he's 6 foot tall. This is awesome. He's a bad free throw shooter. Seems to be the common theme in some of these transfers. Bad free throw shooter, career percentage of 61.7%. This will also be his 4th school. He went from Mississippi State his freshman year to Georgia Tech, where he played for 2 years, then to Utah last year, where he broke out. Now he's going to St. John's as a grad transfer. So something to keep in mind there, but I'm in on Devin Smith. I kept asking myself last year, I'm like, man, I wish he wasn't on Utah. I wish he was somewhere else because he's one of those players that would make a big impact if his team were to make it to March Madness last year. Number 10, rounding out the top 10, Jonas Aidoo from Tennessee going to Arkansas to join John Calipari and his new team over there. Jonas Aidoo averaged 11.4 points per game last year, 7.3 rebounds. Not that terrific on the offensive end, but not a slouch whatsoever. He's pretty good. He's a good he'll be one of the top big men in the SEC next year, just as he was last year. You want to know why? It's because of his defense. His teammate Zakai Ziegler was the defensive player of the year. I honestly think it should have been Adu. 1.8 blocks per game last year, zero point 0.7 steals per game. He's terrific down low, 6'11". This is a great addition for Arkansas. Shot 51.5%. Hasn't really developed the three, but is an okay free throw shooter, just about 67.5% for his career, which is better than the likes of Cliff Omori and Umar Ballo right now. Don't think he's on that level yet of Cliff Omori and Norchad Omier, Umar Ballo, but he's right there. He's right there. He might make a giant leap this year, playing that veteran role. Him and John L. Davis at Arkansas should be a good duo to watch. At 11, which was just kind of inevitable of where he's going, Tucker DeVries, his dad, Darian DeVries, going from Drake to West Virginia. Take that head coaching job. Tucker DeVries follows. 6'7", 210 pounds, may potentially, I do believe it. I'll say it. I think he's going to end up playing in the NBA. He's a gifted scorer, 21.6 points per game last year. That was good for 6th in the country on that Drake team that I decide to take to the Elite Eight every year and never ends up even winning one game. But still like that Drake team, still like Tucker DeVries, can shoot the three, 36% for his career. Great free throw shooter, 81% for his career. Just a tremendous scorer. Can also rebound the ball, 6.7 rebounds last year. His assist totals also went up a lot last year, 3.7 assists. Good on-ball defender as well at 6'7", 1.6 steals per game. He's going to make a huge impact in the Big 12. West Virginia putting together a pretty good squad this year. I'm kind of looking forward to West Virginia being back in the conversation. Moving on to number 12, we have Kobe Johnson. Kobe Johnson going from USC to UCLA. That seems frowned upon, but we'll just leave it at that. Last year, didn't have as great of a year, but the potential is there. Last year, he was overshadowed by all the hype of Bronny James, Isaiah Collier. I think this year is going to be his year to break out. Last year, he had a good year, 10.9 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists, and the best stat, 2.2 steals. A terrific defender. 6'6", 200 pounds. Will fit into Mick Cronin's style very well, I believe. Can shoot the three, just about 33% for his career. Not good, not great, not bad. 79% free throw shooter. He's a good role player that is just one of those Kevin McCullough guys where he's been a role guy, just looking to take that jump, and I think he's going to do it. This might be a little high for some people, but I'm in on Kobe Johnson. I think 12 is a good spot for him. Number 13, Zeke Mayo, transferring from South Dakota State to Kansas. This should be a fun one. Terrific shooter. I cannot put that enough. 39% on in his career from three, all 3 years at South Dakota State. Last year, averaged 18.8 points per game. The year before, 18.2 points per game. Terrific shooter. I think he'll start at the 2 for Bill Self in Kansas this year. Terrific free throw shooter, 87% for his career. Can also rebound, just about 5 rebounds per game for his career, 3 assists. It's going to be different. It's going to be different going from South Dakota State to Kansas, as you might imagine. But I think Zeke Mayo's shooting ability is just going to transfer to the next level. South Dakota State just always produces those terrific shooters. He had a great final game against Iowa State where they got beat in the tournament. But Zeke Mayo, going to be a fun player to watch this year at Kansas. I'm in on him. Moving on, number 14. This guy's flying under the radar. Javian McCollum. A lot of people don't like him. He's not that efficient. I thought he was great last year for Oklahoma. I thought he was kind of the bright spot in a not-so-bright team last year. 13.3 points per game, 94% from the free throw line, which I love. Going to Georgia Tech, he's gonna be the star. He's gonna be the dude. I think he's gonna get to the line, have a terrific year. He did not shoot efficiently from the three last year, 31.4%, only shot 40.4% from the field. Those stats were down. He transferred to Oklahoma from Siena. Siena, he was great 3-point shooter, 42.6%, then 35.6% in his 2 years. Was always a great free throw shooter. Was better from the field goal, better field goal percentage. It just didn't quite get all the way there last year at Oklahoma. He was, I believe he was their best player. Some people, you might say Otega Owe. I think it was Javian McCollum. I thought he was the better player. Just watching them, eyeballing it, I see things that I think he's going to be terrific this year at Georgia Tech. I think he's going to be a guy that averages at least 16, 17 points per game. I think it's a great pickup. I'm excited to see what Javian McCollum can do. This is the one that I kind of went out on a limb on. I can see if you're not that far on Javian McCollum, but that's where I'm at. Moving on, Tyrese Hunter transferring from Memphis, or to Memphis from Texas, excuse me. Kind of overshadowed last year by Max Abesmith. I mean, their team was stacked. They were so stacked. Didn't perform as well, though. But last year, 11.1 points per game, 4.1 assists, kind of laid into that pass-first role with Max Abesmith and Dylan Dessou, likes of them. Decent three-point shooter, 34% last year. Pretty efficient from the field. Decent free throw shooter. Just an okay, just overall past 3 years for Tyrese Hunter. He's fast. He's fast. I love those fast guys like Devin Smith. He's fast. Good defender. He averaged 1.3 steals per game last year. 3 years ago, he was actually at Iowa State where he averaged 2 steals per game, so he went down a little bit there. He's gaining more and more experience, and that is desperately what Memphis needs. I think he's going to play a great role, probably average around 12 points per game, 5 assists per game. I know that might not seem great, but they are going to need him desperately bad if Memphis wants to get back into the tournament, and I think he's going to live up to the hype. I'm excited for Tyrese Hunter next year. Moving on, number 16, Miles Rice. Remember the Miles Rice story? We've talked about it a million times. Miles Rice went from being a freshman a couple years ago to finding out that he had Hodgkin's lymphoma, battled cancer for just about 2 years, and then got back into the college basketball game, where he led their team to a 7 seed last year and even a win in the NCAA tournament. He averaged 14.8 points per game. I should mention he's going to Indiana, by the way. I don't remember if I already mentioned that. He's going from Washington State to Indiana. 14.8 points per game, 3.8 assists per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, 1.6 steals per game, which is very impressive. He cannot shoot the three. He has not shot the three well. He shot 27.5% from three last year, which is bad. There's no way getting around it. It's bad. He's quick. I think he's going to improve as a shooter. Mike Woodson has himself a loaded lineup, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what Miles Rice can do. I think to fully succeed and really become he could be a first-round draft pick, he's just got to get that three-point percentage up. He's a good free throw shooter, 81%. You know he's got the capability of knocking the threes down. He just has to do it. I'm excited to see what Miles Rice can do. I strictly just love his story. His story is very inspiring. He's become a fan favorite because of his story, so really looking forward to see what he can do at Indiana next year. At number 17, we have Cade Tyson from Belmont to North Carolina. Yes, big jump, Belmont to North Carolina. Cade Tyson, probably the best shooter on this list, 46.5% from three. Well, he's the best shooter right now until we mention who the next guy is. We'll talk about him in a second, though. Don't want to overtake Cade Tyson's role here. 46.5% from three, absolutely incredible. 85.5% free throw shooter, 49% from the field. We mentioned on the last podcast he's going to step into that Cormac Ryan role. I think he's better than Cormac Ryan. I really do. 16.2 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game. He's good. He's a great offensive player. 0.9 steals per game, 0.6 blocks. He is also 6'7". I did not expect it. I didn't realize he was that big. 6'7", 205. Got a good build. I think he's going to be terrific. I think he's going to step into that Cormac Ryan role and do even better than Cormac did last year. So with R.J. Davis and Cade Tyson, wow, watch out for this team shooting the three. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Speaking of someone that can absolutely shoot the three, let's talk about Kobe Brea. Kobe Brea going from Dayton to Kentucky. This is what Mark Pope wants to do. Mark Pope loves the guys that can shoot the three, and this is exactly what Kobe Brea did. Remember last year, that game against Nevada where they were down big? It was Kobe Brea that led them back. It was Kobe Brea that was knocking down all those threes. Not Durant Holmes, who was an All-American. Kobe Brea shot 49.8% from three last year. Now, you might think he might not have been shooting a lot of them a game. 6.1 threes per game. He was 100 for 201 last year from the three-point line. Absolutely incredible. 87.5% from the free throw line. He's not great on defense. He's not particularly bad on defense, but this this is a pickup for Mark Pope. Just fits in absolutely perfectly. I thought Kobe Bryant was going to land at UConn. He ended up at Kentucky, but he's there to shoot threes. He might not shoot anything but a three at Kentucky next year, which is exactly what I love. I'm excited to see it. Last year, he shot 201 threes and 16 free throws. Love it. Love these kinds of players. Really looking forward to watching Kobe Bryant play in that Mark Pope offense. Moving on, transferring from Pepperdine to Gonzaga. You might think that's a big jump. Yes, it is. Michael Ajayi. This is a great pickup for Gonzaga. Pepperdine, not great. I know, not a great school. I think Michael Ajayi is going to fit in just well. 17.2 points per game, 9.9 rebounds per game. Yes, as a guard, 9.9 rebounds per game. Kind of that guard / forward, but really, really going to be fun to watch him. Shot 47% from three last year, 71% from the free throw line. This is a great pickup. I think I think he'll start for Gonzaga. I think he will, depending on what they do with Steel Venters. I think he'll start, and I hope he does. I think he deserves it. I think he's a terrific player. Last year was his freshman year, so he's got a lot of years of eligibility left if he chooses to use them. I'm excited to see Michael Ajayi at Gonzaga next year. And rounding out our top 20, Kanan Carlisle transferring from Stanford, also to Indiana and Mike Woodson's Hoosiers squad. Kanan Carlisle, he's kind of a point guard, kind of a shooting guard. I'd say more of a point guard. 6'3", 11.5 points per game last year, 2.7 assists, 2.7 rebounds. Was just kind of held back at Stanford, and I think if he really gets things going this year, he's also got 3 years of eligibility left, so he's got room to grow. I think it's a good move going from Stanford to Indiana. Curious to see how he does. I have to mention, that's the top 20. I have to mention sorry to PJ Haggerty. I wanted to put him on the list. It was either him or Kanan Carlisle for that last spot. PJ Haggerty deserves to be recognized. He's terrific. Transfer from Tulsa to Memphis. Just wanted to mention his name. I'm not going to go through all his stats, but really looking forward to PJ Haggerty this year as well. So that's the top 20. I'd love to hear your top 20 if you disagree with anything. I'm sure you do. But this is just where I stand now. It's not just strictly talent-wise. I also like to mention where they fit, where they should live to their full potential, full hype, which is also the case for what we're going to talk about in our next one. Now we're going to do the top 20 teams and go through some of their pickups. Bear in mind, this doesn't mean this is how good the teams will be this year. Like, obviously, like Duke's not on this list. I know Duke kind of has a decent recruiting class, but they didn't technically need it for their success. Like, this is like these teams they needed it to be where they are in the totem pole right now. They needed to be at the top 5 team. They needed to even put together a roster for some of them. Teams like Arkansas, Kentucky, Michigan, they didn't have any players. They needed to fill a lineup. They're going to be on the list. So it's kind of tough to rank them. But I also try to consider how well players will fit into the system. Like, obviously, we already talked about Baylor. I do have Baylor on this list. I know it's only 2 guys we talked about. And that's pretty much all they got, but I think they're going to fit in so perfectly that I did include them. Also including teams like Washington, Vanderbilt, who just rebuilt their entire roster with a new coach. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think you did a good job at doing it. You're going to find most of these teams are more like that, where it's like, yeah, they needed to fill a lot of players, so they're pretty highly ranked just because they got more recruits. Which, yeah, it's tough to rank them. That's all I'll say. All right, number 1, my first team that I think did the best job in the transfer portal, Mike Woodson and Indiana. I think it's close. It's between them and Arkansas. I truly believe that. Starting off with, we already talked about Kanan Carlisle, talked about Miles Rice, we talked about Umar Ballo. Those are 3 of my top 20, so that should just show you right there. But they also got two other fellows we're going to talk about. Starting with Luke Goody from Illinois coming into Indiana. We talked on previous podcasts about how Indiana's shooting might just not be there until they got Luke Goody. Luke Goody is a terrific three-point shooter. He's going to step into that role. Hopefully Miles Rice can also knock down some threes. Then they did get Langdon Hatton from Bellarmine. Big guy, decent pickup. Probably not going to start, might not play too much, but he'll get some minutes. Just a terrific. So there's 5 guys coming in for Mike Woodson. Very good job by Woodson. Number 2 is Arkansas. We already talked a lot about Arkansas. with Jonas Adu and John L. Davis. They also got Adu Thiero following Coach Cal from Kentucky to Arkansas, and the same goes for Zvonimir Visic going from Kentucky to Arkansas. I love this team because they're veteran. I didn't expect Calipari to, I expected some transfers to come, but the John L. Davis and Jonas Adu were shocking to a lot of people. And I'm glad he did it. They're going to be a veteran team. Cal's obviously kind of been struggling with some of the freshmen. Obviously, last year that talented class lost in the first round. So with the veteran team, I'm really looking forward to what Arkansas might do this upcoming year. Excuse me. Moving on, number 3, we have Kentucky. Kentucky 8 recruits as they needed because everyone's leaving or transferring or going to the NBA or whatever they're doing. Let's start. We talked about Kobe Bryant. We already mentioned him. Now let's start with Lamont Butler. Lamont Butler, known for making that iconic shot in the Final Four against Florida Atlantic to send San Diego State to the championship game. But he is actually a great defender. It's this defense is what does it for him. He's going to be, it's going to be a fight for whether he'll be starting or in the backup role because of Kerr Kriisa. Kerr Kriisa transferring from West Virginia, also coming in, also a point guard. So it'll be cool to see that little backcourt battle there. Who's going to end up being the starter? Who's going to be in the bench? Kerr Kriisa, tremendous 3-point shooter. Andrew Carr also coming in from Wake Forest, kind of a stretch big, can shoot the 3. Big, lengthy body. Good player. Good player. I'm curious to see what Andrew Carr will do at Kentucky because he might be their leading scorer next year, believe it or not. Now we mentioned Otega Owe when we mentioned Javian McCullum also going from Oklahoma. He is going to Kentucky. Big guy, 6'5", but thick, muscular, big athletic frame. He'll probably start at the 3 for him this year. He might be a breakout candidate just like Javian McCullum. We'll see what he can do going forward. They also got Ansley Almanor, who we're not going to talk about too much. Quite frankly, I don't really know that much about him, honestly. So I do know a lot about Mari Williams, though, transferring from Drexel, the CAA Defensive Player of the Year. Big guy. I think he's going to start over Brandon Garrison, who is also a big guy coming in from Oklahoma State. Those two in the backcourt, along with Andrew Carr, is dynamic. So they got 8 guys coming in, 8 solid players. It's going to be a fun team to watch. We'll see how they do going forward. At number 4, we do have Kansas. One of those where it's just an absolutely loaded roster. What can you say about it? It's loaded. Now, they got Noah Shelby, who we're not going to talk too much about, from Rice. He's good. He's a good player. He might not play too much. Guys who are going to play a lot, Rylan Griffin, coming from Alabama. This was an interesting move from Rylan Griffin. I love Kansas. I love Bill Self. I almost wish he'd have stayed at Alabama, though, just because I thought he was going to fit in really well at Alabama this year. But, Alabama and Kansas, they're your top 2 teams right now. A.J. Storr, as we mentioned already, coming from Wisconsin, and then Zeke Mayo coming from South Dakota State. This is top-heavy, very top-heavy. Zeke Mayo, A.J. Storr, Rylan Griffin, 3 superstars. They're going to put together a pretty much an all-star lineup if we were talking college basketball all-star teams. Number 5, I have St. John's. Strictly, Kadari Richmond and Devin Smith put them at my number 5 spot right now. They also got Vincent Iwuchukwu from USC. I'm not that big on him. I think he's okay. I think they should have went for someone a little bit different. Man, I thought they were going to get Norchad Omier for a while. If they'd have got Norchad Omier instead of Vincent Iwuchukwu, they probably would have been top 3 for me. They also got Aaron Scott from North Texas, which is also a fairly solid pickup. But they're in the 5 spot for me right now. At number 6, West Virginia. West Virginia with 7 commits. They did a great job. We already mentioned Tucker DeVries, who's going to be their leading scorer without a doubt. They also got in Javon Small, who was a top 10 transfer for a lot of people. He's coming from Oklahoma State to West Virginia. Yes, another Oklahoma State guy. Why was Oklahoma State so bad last year? That's a good question. Also got in Imani Hansberry and Sincere Harris, both transferring from Illinois to West Virginia. Sincere Harris, I watched him play in high school. He's terrific. I want him to break through this year. I think Imani Hansberry will break through this year. I think this is going to be a fairly solid team. They also got Joseph Yesufu and Eduardo Andre coming in for West Virginia, along with, I got to mention, Toby Okani as well. Might not play too much, but still a solid player. At number 7, I do have Alabama, even with the loss of Rylan Griffin. Brought in Aiden Holloway from Auburn, who clearly underperformed last year. Talked about Cliff Omori, who's going to be incredible. I can say it right now. I'll go out on a take and say it. He's going to be incredible. They also brought in Houston Millett from Pepperdine, Chris Youngblood from USF. both stars of their team. Obviously, Houston Millett a little bit behind Michael Ajayi, but man, Houston Millett and Michael Ajayi, why was Pepperdine not very good last year? Good stuff for Alabama. Nate Oates has a loaded roster right now. At number 8, I have Michigan. Michigan, just one of those teams, needed to put together a roster, basically. Got in Vlad Golden to follow his coach Dusty May to Michigan. They also brought in Danny Wolf, Yale stud last year, Reuben Jones from North Texas, Trey Donaldson from Auburn, Roddy Gale from Ohio State to Michigan. That can't be liked at all, I wouldn't think. Sam Walters coming from Alabama to Michigan. It's solid. It's a lot of good players. There's no one that I think is really great. I think Vlad Golden is going to Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf are probably their two best players. I can truly say that. I think they're going to be the two best players, but can they coexist together? I'm not sure. That's why I have them as low as number 8 right now. At number 9, I do have UCLA. UCLA is going to be a fun team. We already mentioned Kobe Johnson. Sky Clark coming from Louisville. I know, yes, he came from Louisville, but he is a good player. He's a good player. You just got to get away from Kenny Payne. By all means, do whatever you can to get away from Kenny Payne, unless he's an assistant coach. Maybe he'll be good at Arkansas this year. They also brought in Eric Daly, 4-star from Oklahoma State. Eric Daly, Brandon Garrison, and Javon Small. Why were they so bad? They got some top transfers, but Eric Daly, good player. He's going to be all right at UCLA. I'm looking forward to him, along with Tyler Bilodeau coming from Oregon State, William Kyle coming in from South Dakota State, and to finalize it out with Dominic Harris from LMU. So they got 6 transfers, and a lot of them are good. Kobe Johnson, Sky Clark, Eric Daly, Tyler Bilodeau. That's pretty good, along with the pieces they already have with the means of Dylan Andrews and Sebastian Mack and Ade Mara. It's going to be a good team. I'm looking forward to UCLA. For the first time in a while, I feel like I haven't said I'm looking forward to UCLA in a while. I'm looking forward to them. At number 10, I do have Baylor. Now, they only have 3 recruits coming in, and only 2 of them, I believe, will play. The third one is Jalen Celestine coming in from Cal. I don't think he's going to play that much. Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier are enough for them to be number 10, because I know it doesn't seem like it, but they fit perfectly with the roster they have coming in. Jeremy Roach, Norchad Omier, VJ Edgecombe is going to be their superstar freshman. They also brought back Langston Love and who am I missing? Jaden Nunn also coming back. It's going to be a good team. Baylor. I think Baylor's my choice to win the NCAA title next year. Yes, I'm going to say it. Baylor, right now, my choice. At number 11, I have Texas. Texas brought in Julian Larry from Indiana State, Jason Kent, also from Indiana State, Tremont Mark from Arkansas, Jordan Pope from Oregon State, and Malik Presley. So that's a very, very solid lineup there. Really looking forward to what this team can do. Hopefully Rodney Terry can get them under control. I think it's really, really talented. Tremont Mark can score. Jordan Pope can score. Jason Kent and Julian Larry proven at Indiana State, along with the pieces they already have. Caden Shendrick. It's going to be a fun team to watch. I'm looking forward to Texas this year. Number 12, I have Ohio State. Excuse me. I think I did that on the last podcast too. I apologize. Ohio State coming in at number 12. Their pieces fit well as well. Michi Johnson was one of the more undervalued transfers. I think he was close to my top 20 list. I think he's great. He can score the ball. He went from Ohio State to South Carolina, made a huge name of himself, and is coming back to Ohio State to be their scorer. They also got Aaron Bradshaw from Kentucky, 7'1", lengthy wingspan. I think it's 7'6" or 7'8", something stupid, just ridiculous wingspan. Micah Parrish, who has national championship experience from South Dakota State, coming to Ohio State, and then Sean Stewart, who was kind of the backup at Duke last year, but a former All-American, great player. I think these pieces fit fairly well together. You'll notice Michi Johnson, shooting guard, Micah Parrish, small forward, Sean Stewart, power forward, Aaron Bradshaw, center, along with the likes of Bruce Thornton. I think it fits well. I like this team a lot next year. Watch out for the Buckeyes. At number 13, Louisville. When's the last time anyone said anything good about Louisville? I'll say it right now. Good job to Pat Kelsey for putting together a fairly good lineup. Now, Noah Waterman coming in, that's fine from BYU. Ali Khalifa also coming from BYU, but he's going to redshirt. He's definitely the bigger name, but he's going to redshirt because of injury. Now, they did bring in Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin, who I'm lower on than most people, but he's got experience. He's a proven point guard. Kayshawn Pryor is a guy to look out for from USF. I think he might have a little bit of a breakthrough this year. Know the name Kayshawn Pryor. Also got James Scott and Kobe Rogers following Pat Kelsey from Charleston to Louisville. James Scott, big guy. Abukar Traore from Long Beach State. This is a good pickup. Big guy, big athletic guy, small forward. It's going to be a fun piece. I think it fits well. Rain Smith, also coming from Charleston to Louisville. He'll probably play the most minutes out of, maybe James Scott. James Scott will play a lot of minutes as well. Javon Hadley coming in from Colorado. Remember that name? Yes. 4-star. Good for Louisville in this one. Javon Hadley, proven player. Terrence Edwards, I think, will be their leading scorer, coming from James Madison. This one's kind of flying under the radar. Corin Johnson coming from Washington. So a lot of pieces here. They got a lot of pieces. I think the starting lineup's going to look like Corin Johnson, Terrence Edwards, Javon Hadley, Kayshawn Pryor, and Chucky Hepburn. I think those are their 5 best players. Kayshawn Pryor might come off the bench, but I think it's going to be a fun team. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. I'm rooting for Louisville. I want Louisville to be good in the college basketball ranks. That's where they deserve to be. Moving on. Arizona. Now, Arizona is not at the top of a lot of people's lists, but I really like, I've said it before, I'm a fan of the mid-major to major, the Dalton Connect style of transferring up, and that's exactly what Arizona did, getting Trey Townsend and Anthony Del Orso. Anthony Del Orso is coming from Campbell. Trey Townsend is coming from Oakland. 2 small schools, but 2 studs. They kind of play the same position, so it'll be curious to see if they can coexist. I think they will, but I'm really excited to see. These 2 are 2 terrific scorers. And then Toby Awaka coming from Tennessee, terrific defender. Kind of held back at Tennessee, wasn't all that we thought he was going to be yet, but I think he's going to be a good piece at Arizona this year. Number 15, I do have Memphis. Memphis, high on a lot of people's radars this year, but guess what? Last year, they were either the number 1 or number 2 transfer class, depending on who you talk to, and they did not do good. They did not do good at all. Now, we already mentioned Tyrese Hunter. Let's talk about Musa Cisse, who should be a stud, but has not been whatsoever yet. Transferring from Ole Miss to Memphis. Remember, he started at Kansas, went to Ole Miss, now he's at Memphis. It's interesting to see what Musa Cisse can do because he has talent. They also got Tyreek Smith from SMU. Dane Danger from Illinois, who is incredibly overrated, if I say so myself. Sorry, Dane Danger. I don't think you're as good as a lot of people are labeling you as. He's ranked high at 247 Sports, high on On3. Don't think he's that good. Baraka Okije from George Mason, transferring to Memphis as well. And then PJ Haggerty, who I think is underrated. I think PJ Haggerty is going to play a significant role this year at Tulsa, or from Tulsa to Memphis. And then Colby Rogers coming in as well. This is going to be a fun team to watch. They were fun last year, believe it or not. They just were horrible down the stretch. But I hope Memphis can figure it out because this is a fun, athletic roster. But the center position scares me. Musa Cisse and Dane Danger. It's like Musa Cisse is better, but Musa Cisse is less proven than Dane Danger. I think Dane Danger and Eddie Lampkin. Sorry, Eddie Lampkin, you're just going to catch an absolute stray here. The 2 most overrated big men in the portal this year. That's all I'll say. I don't want to talk bad about him too much. But moving on to number 16, the Eric Musselman coached USC Trojans, highlighted by Desmond Cloud. I'm in on Desmond Cloud. I think he's going to be terrific. Transfer from Xavier to USC. I wanted him to stay at Xavier because I like Xavier this year. I also got Clark Starjack from Penn. Josh Cohen from UMass, Rashawn Aggie from Bowling Green, Matt Knowling from Yale, Bryce Pope coming in, St. Thomas coming in, Terrence Williams coming in, Chibuzo Agbo coming in from Boise State. So what do you notice about a lot of these guys? It's a lot of small schools coming up, which is okay. He's kind of just picking off some of the best players from some of the worst teams, not the worst teams, but some of the mid-major teams, and just stacking a lineup highlighted by Desmond Cloud. I think USC is going to be okay. I think it's going to be close whether they make the tournament or not. I hope they do. I like Eric Musselman. I hope he gets the job done. Now this is going to be an unpopular pick, and I'm willing to take the heat if they fail. Give me Virginia at number 17. Now I know it might just seem like recency bias because they've done well recent. I just think they fit in well. We know Tony Bennett's a great defensive coach, and he finally got some offensive pieces. Elijah Saunders, not much of an offensive piece, but still good player. Small forward from San Diego State. Day Ames coming in from Kansas State. That was terrific. He'll be their point guard. He's fast. He can score. Well, actually, he'll probably be their shooting guard because, they might run a little 2-point guard action. Because Jalen Worley coming from Florida State, pass first kind of point guard, pass it to Day-Day Ames. Just I think I like how these pieces fit, those two in the backcourt. And then TJ Power can really score the ball, transfer from Duke, kind of held back, kind of like Sean Stewart held back last year. And then Carter Lang coming in from Vanderbilt. We'll see how much he plays. But TJ Power, Jalen Warry, Day-Day Ames, Elijah Saunders, add in Isaac McNeely. That's probably your starting five, and that is a good starting five. I really like that team. I think it fits together perfectly. I see the vision of Tony Bennett in that one. Looking forward to it. Number 18, I have Vanderbilt, their most recent addition of A.J. Hoggard. They've also got Chris Mainin coming in, who is very good. I'm excited to see what he can do. Kijani Wright, Grant Huffman, Jalen Carey, M.J. Collins, Jason Edwards from North Texas is going to be a stud. Jason Edwards, keep your name on that. And then keep your eyes on Tyler Nickel from Virginia Tech, along with Devin McLaughlin from Boston College. I think this is going to be a fun team. It's not a great team, but for the resources, for everything that Mark Byington has done, I think he's done a great job. I think he's filled a roster that will be competitive. Now, bear in mind, like, this might still be the worst team in the SEC, but it's competitive. Like last year, there was the whole SEC and then Vanderbilt and Missouri. Kind of throw LSU in the equation. This year, I think the gap's going to be a little bit smaller. I really do. And I think this is a good start. A.J. Hoggard running the offense. Chris Mainin, fun team. Curious to see how Vanderbilt does, rooting for Mark Byington. At number 19, we are going to talk about Ole Miss, Chris Beard's Ole Miss squad. They got only 5 recruits coming in, but they're good ones, really good ones. Dre Davis coming in from Seton Hall, Sean Padula, knockdown shooter from Virginia Tech, Malik Dia coming in from Belmont, Mikhail Browns-Jones from UNC Greensboro, a lot of 4 stars, and then add Davon Barnes in there as well. But all these 4 stars, Dre Davis, Sean Padula, Mikhail Jones, and Malik Dia, fun team. Curious to see how it does. Then finally, number 20 was kind of tough for me to pick. I did end up landing on Washington. Was kind of disappointed in the job that Danny Sprinkle did at first, I'm not going to lie, until he got Great Osabar, which I know he spent a ton of money to do it. But Great Osabar, DJ Davis, and Makai Mason. It's going to be a fun team. It's going to be a decent team. I don't know how they'll do in the Big Ten, but I needed a number 20, and they filled out a roster okay, along with the likes of Tyler Harris. And then that's kind of about it. That's kind of going to make any sort of impact. They got some big guys, Chris Conway, Casey Ibekwe, just kind of some guys that aren't real proven, but their first 4/5 should be pretty good. But other than that, not so sure. Not so sure about Washington, but I still think Danny Sprinkle did a decent job. I see now why he was so desperate to end up getting Great Osabar, because he is going to need him. All right, that was a lot of talking. I apologize. That is it for the top 20 teams that I think have done in the transfer portal. Moving on to the top 10 players still available. I'm just going to go through these quickly. I'm not going to read all their stats or anything. Jameer Watkins from Florida State. Terrific pickup wherever he goes. I'm excited to see where he goes. Great offensive player, great defensive player. Coleman Hawkins is in the NBA draft right now. I mentioned when he comes back, I think he's going to be at North Carolina. I've heard some things that might not be the case anymore. From one of the other guys we're going to talk about might end up committing to North Carolina. But Coleman Hawkins, terrific player, just that plays harder than just about anyone in the college game. I hope he comes back to college basketball because he's good for college basketball. Chaz Lanier from North Florida, terrific scorer. Heard he's in talks with Kentucky. Kentucky seems to have filled their entire roster. Maybe Arkansas then. It seems Kentucky and Arkansas always tied together. We'll see. JT Toppin, also in the NBA draft process, was a standout last year as a freshman at New Mexico. Also was a standout in the draft process. So bear in mind, he might stay in the NBA draft, might come back. Number 5, Jackson Robinson from BYU, also in the NBA draft process. If he comes back, I fully expect him to wind up at Kentucky with Mark Pope. Him and Mark Pope get along really well. Now, the other guy that I think is in serious talks with North Carolina is Ugonna Onyenso, transfer from Kentucky. They're basically only big guy that played last year outside of Aaron Bradshaw and Zvonimir Visic. They didn't play much. It was Ugonna Onyenso who was the starter and played most of the minutes. I heard he's in talks with North Carolina if he comes back, but I expect him to come back. Wooga Poplar at number 7, the transfer from Miami. Curious to see where he goes. I really don't even have a guess. He was in talks with Kentucky, but they have too many people on their roster. Too many people. I don't think they have room for Wooga Poplar, but maybe Louisville. Go to Louisville. It seems they're always kind of connected. No clue. Really have no clue where Wooga Poplar might end up. Maybe even Duke. Duke seems like a decent fit. I'm at number 8, Miles Kelly from Georgia Tech. Miles Kelly was their leading scorer last year. He is a terrific player. Miles Kelly will find a good spot, a good home. Kansas State seems like kind of a good fit there. Number 9, Trayvon Brazile. Remember, he had a terrific freshman year. He got hurt, and then last year he was just kind of never fully 100%, it seemed. But he's also in the NBA draft process. If he comes back, it'll be curious to see where he ends up, because he could be one of those guys with a really high ceiling. And then number 10, Cam Christie, the transfer from Minnesota. We'll see where he ends up. It's going to be, I don't know. I don't even have a guess. I'm not even going to act like I have a guess. Cam Christie will make a good impact somewhere. Best player for one of the best players for Minnesota last year. That's it. A lot of rankings, a lot of talking. Thanks to those who stuck with me here today. That's going to conclude the rest of our show. Remember, before you leave, to vote on that poll. Are you interested in a Best Bet show? Would you be interested in checking it out daily, trying to make some money? Whatever your units are, it should be. It's always fun to do. While you're down there, smash the subscribe button, by the way. I really appreciate that. Hit the like button. Let us know you were here. Comment. Please comment some of your feelings. Some players you think might be thrown into there. Now, this is just my opinion. Now, it's kind of an educated opinion. I've done a lot of research on it, but I'm hearing out anyone about just any team, any player that you think should be on this list. I know some things are a little different, but let me know. Everyone have a great rest of their week. See you later.